See how they drew it up, but as long as you win, right, Coach, a W?
They got the ball in the two best players' hands. One shot it and missed it. The other one went and got it and put it down.
Yep. Carl Anthony Towns said, hey, we've been waiting for a shot like that all night. In overtime with 1 second to go. There's only one of those that happens. And he made it. Welcome, by the way. Glad to see that you've made it. None of us have to raise chairs tonight. We're all happy. Hopefully you are. Casey Stern, Sekou Smith, the czar himself, of course, our coach Mike Fratello. We got a lot to get to. Some big games and, of course, big storylines, including that one big man who's on the move. And we're not talking about Smitty running to his car in the cold, trying to get out of here quickly. AD not there. Neither are really any of the Pelicans. Drew Holiday, though, dancing and company. And then Nikola Jokic says, enough dancing. 14 at the half. Doing it a number of different ways. Flotation device. Little post move here, Sekou.
Yeah, you might as well take advantage of the absence of not only Anthony Davis, Casey, but everybody else if you're Nikola Jokic.
You notice our researcher, Justin Kimbrell, not here. I think he took the week off watching Okafor highlights. There have been a lot of them. Floater in the paint. Jaleel, coach, 14 in the game, including getting a chance to go to work here at the buzzer defensively. Okafor playing well.
He has played very well. This guy can score. You get the ball in the paint with him. He's got great footwork, and he has soft hands.
Nice footwork and soft hands. Good segue. Nikola Jokic. And then he finds Sparty for three. Gary Harris is good, and Malik Beasley, recipient here of some love going the other way. Jokic, Sekou, 8th triple-double of the season here, setting up Beasley for the layup.
Yeah, just doing his best quarterback impersonation right there. And you're starting to see the quality of depth of this Denver team now, Casey, as it's getting guys back healthy.
You saw Castaway was Tom Hanks in the volleyball. It may soon be Drew Holiday and the volleyball in New Orleans. Changes to come. He will not be one of them, probably. Big contract, big three there. Lead one for Denver. But too much Jokic, coach. He had 20 points, 13 boards. As well as 10 assists.
This guy is asserting himself now. He's kind of figuring out, you know what, I might be an all-star caliber player, and he's showing it night in and night out.
Hey, Denver, we talk about all these teams in the West and those that are going to step up, and who's got the best chance, ... with Golden State, and we know Oklahoma City has played well. We know, obviously, Houston at times. Denver has continued to be up near the top, and when they are playing balanced in a scoring fashion, and Jokic at least scores a little bit, they seem to win almost every time out.
Well, I just think their arsenal of human resources, if you will, the number of different bodies with size, length, and athleticism they can throw at you, Case, is something that not everybody in the West can match. And this is, all the way from Jokic, who's a difference maker, a potential triple-double every night at the 5 spot if we are playing position basketball. If not, then he's your point guard, basically, on this team. And you've got all these weapons for him to use in addition to him taking advantage of whoever's defending him, because there are not many big men in this league or on the planet probably who can match skill-wise what he can bring every night.
You know who's been hanging out with David Griffin too long? Sekou Smith, the arsenal of human resources. Coach, when you look at Denver, clearly they've got guys who could score in bunches too. Their guards, maybe not prototypical point when you think about Murray, who's a shooter, could score in bunches. Gary Harris, who did so tonight. But they've got guys who can get buckets late for a coach, like Malone in this case, when he needs that big shot, which they will in the playoffs.
Who has prototypical point guards anymore?
Not today.
No, it doesn't work that way. Now, if you are a very good basketball player at the guard position, you score, you pass, you do all the things, but not uncommon that you have 20-point scorers in the point guard position, a la Mr. Kyrie Irving. But when you talk about depth on teams, Toronto, deep, okay? Boston, depth. How about this Denver team? Another one of those teams who, little by little, have been adding pieces. Then as the season went on, they got a key piece back again in Will Barton. This is a very good basketball team.
The other team, look, Alvin Gentry, who we all love personally, obviously, I thought said what he could say, which is, look, we're not going to fall to pieces, right? We're going to do what we have to do. They've all said it's not personal. They understand that. And AD has been how he's been behind the scenes. But here's the part that I have a hard time with, Sekou, is those who feel like there's some urgency for them, A, to deal him by the 7th, which there's not, and B, like he has to go to the Lakers. I don't care if I'm the Pelicans, where he wants to go. I know that may sound harsh, but it's business. I've got to get the most out of this deal. Otherwise, I'm going from here to all of a sudden way down here with no chance of any return, right?
Absolutely. And all you have to do is look at the recent history of guys who have forced their way out of situations. Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, Paul George. Did any of these guys go where they supposedly wanted to go?
No.
Absolutely not. So if you're the incumbent team that has to facilitate this deal and get one of these guys out of your locker room and off your team, you have no compunction to do what they want you to do. It's all about the best assets you can recoup in a deal on your time, not on the trade deadline schedule, not on Anthony Davis and his representative schedule, or anyone else's. And that's just a part of the business. That's also why you have star players now leveraging their way out of situations they don't want to be in. They recognize the business, and they understand there's only so much power you have as a star player, a superstar player in this league. If you don't do it now, as Anthony Davis is doing, $50,000 fine and whatever else comes your way, you lose whatever power you might have in terms of forcing this situation before the team has to do it.
Yeah, look, the other part of it is that, take Toronto, for example. Masai, anytime you ask him, he said, look, they love DeMar DeRozan. It's rare you get opportunities, Coach, to get Sekou guys like a Kawhi Leonard. So whether we think we can convince him in a year or we can't, we know we have a team that won 50 games. We just fired a coach, and we've got to try and win. There have to be teams, in my opinion, and look, Boston is one that's an obvious example, that with the rest of this year and another year would look at this coach, right, and say, look, I don't think he would stay here either, but if I could take 2 shots with Anthony Davis and I've got enough in the system, I'm making a phone call, right?
How many teams can really say they are capable of maintaining a long-term game plan and follow it step by step without panicking and suddenly changing direction 1 or 2 years into it? I'll give you one example that they've done a great job. Brooklyn.
Yep.
All right, Sean Marks in there with Kenny Atkinson from the beginning. They were so far behind the 8 ball when they took over that program with no picks, first-round picks for 3 years to come when they took it over, a depleted roster, no stars on the team. And they have put this team back into the playoff picture in just a couple years because they've stayed with and maintained what they believed in. Now, Sekou said everything you had to say about not rushing, taking your time. It's not up to them. It's up to you to make the right decision. That means ownership, front office, and coaching staff should be in constant dialogue on what was presented to them. Is this what we would accept? If not, we wait a little bit longer, okay? And ideally, you would like to get him back playing because this finger gives him a built-in reason why Anthony Davis doesn't play the rest of the season, which would be terrible for the Pelicans. But if they're going to keep him till the end of the season, you want to get him back and take your run at the playoffs.
They have their pick this year. I haven't looked, but if they do, is it that terrible? Hey, just sit down. We'll trade you in the offseason and we'll get a pick.
Yeah, no? and the strange thing was watching him in the huddle interacting with his teammates.
Right?
That was so peculiar, seeing that interaction. It makes you wonder, how long have the Pelicans, at least his teammates and the people in the basketball ops, how long have they known about this, that this might be coming?
Well, supposedly he took the whole team out to dinner, right? They had
yes.
The whole team went to dinner. Mr. Davis picked up the check, from what I understand, and tipped kindly to the servers. But
it makes you wonder how long this has been a part of their daily process. And if they've known that this was coming for some time, then it's not a shock to the system like some people assume. This is maybe the next logical step in this process. And you're right, Case. Maybe it is time to consider not having Anthony Davis play anymore this season.
You mean something odd didn't happen on the plane and that at 3:30 in the morning he and his people texted Woj to wake him up in a hotel bed? No, probably not.
It's a little more premeditated than that.
Probably a little bit. We've got a lot. Speaking of premeditated, Rookie of the Year, there's a ladder. It's there. It's Sekou's is maybe more interesting because we're premeditating. It's Doncic and everyone else. He against the Celtics when we come back. Also, we get an opportunity to find out about Doncic's first chance at the Garden. Would he break the mark for a first-timer?
Oh, he did! I wasn't sure if I could do that still. You good? You good? You good, Lefty? What you want to do? Yep, I got nail. I'm nail. I'm low. Here you go. Ball here. Help. We out. Get it up, get it up. Get through, yep. Here you go, ball here. Here you go, go ahead. Now you gotta get that right leg around. Get that right leg, there you go, yes. You keep doing that, you money, keep going. Hard work on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Vince Carter firing up the troops here in Atlanta during practice. He turned 42 years of age this week. 42.
It's amazing he's still playing.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and he's still in the rotation. He's still getting minutes, and he's still reasonably productive.
Still dunking.
37+% from 3, still getting dunks here and there.
No, it's pretty remarkable. Great career, and for him to still, after all these years, all that mileage, out there playing, having fun, the love of the game, being an impact in the locker room and on the court.
Y'all might be a new trendsetter, Grant, with the Atlanta Hawks. The first player, coach, broadcaster.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I think Vince,
I've done games with him. He's already done some broadcasting.
Just play like in the second quarter.
Yeah,
and go back to the
halftime, do halftime media, and then play and then coach.
During his regularly scheduled breaks, he just walks over to the table and sits down with Bob Rathman and Dominic. No, during the game, why not?
Pre and post show and halftime, and then play and then coach a little bit.
He can do that.
Yeah.
He began his NBA career before the 2 first-round picks, Kevin Huerter and Trae Young, were even born.
It's amazing. But the benefit, obviously, in Atlanta to have a guy like that, a Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer, a guy that they might not have remembered because he was so young, but a guy that had an impact on the game, that has value, who can contribute in the locker room. His locker is sandwiched in between John Collins and Trae Young, and that's intentional by Lloyd Pierce because his experience, his professionalism, everything about him. And then on top of that, what he's still doing on the court is pretty remarkable.
I mean, you could talk to the guys, Trae and John Collins, I would talk to them about every, trying to absorb everything. Also longevity. What is he doing to be able to play at this level for this long? It's remarkable to have a guy like that. It's invaluable for John Collins and this entire, Hawks organization.
What can Trae Young pick up from Carter, and what have you liked about him?
Well, I think if I'm a rookie and I'm really going and asking Vince, the dog days of the NBA, my shooting percentage, what do I need to do? And I think he's turned that corner. The game against the Clippers, I thought was one of his best games. Not numbers-wise. The reason for me, Grant, was you're going up against Avery Bradley, one of the best, Patrick Beverly, and then you have Lent and the other rookie, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That, to me, the way he continuously drove the basketball, making plays in the paint, I thought it was his best game of the season.
I think to Smitty's point earlier, in terms of just showing them how to take care of yourself, your longevity. Trae is a smaller guy. I think he working on his body. As a small guy, he's going to have to be very intentional. He's going to have to be very strategic in terms of what he does, taking care of himself. Like a lot of young guys these days, nutrition, training, diet, all that stuff, you can get by just on talent. And now at this level, he's come in and made a great impact and shown that he belongs. But do you want to be special? And what does it take to get to that level as a guy who's a smaller guy? And Vince, having been around, played with some greats, he's a great himself. I just think understanding how to take care of your body, be a professional, all those things, not just for Trae Young, but for all those guys, but particularly for Trae, who's got the toughest job in a league at the point guard position where every night is a tough matchup. So, but yeah, he's invaluable. He's been awesome, and I think he has another year left in him.
I do too.
Hawks
player, coach,
out of town. As you probably heard, the Super Bowl is here in Atlanta this week, so not coincidentally, the Hawks are out of town on a long road trip. 7 games. They're 2-1 so far, and over his last 2 games, Trae Young has averaged 28 and 8 assists a game and shooting nearly 64% from the field. All right, we'll